developers are the most difficult people to take admin rights away from, maybe sysadmins included. Earlier on today, we spoke to Scott from the Osirium development team, and he's going to talk us through how PEM affects his workflow. So, Scott, you're part of the furniture at Osirium.
Yes,
you must have seen, many different projects come and go, different tooling sets, which has required you to have different level of access to sort of various applications and things. Do you want to just talk us around?
Yeah, so every project is going to have different requirements, and there's always a different reason why we're going to need to run something with local admin rights. So depending on what product or area of a product we're working on, that will vary, but definitely for everything, when we're setting up our dev environment, we're going to need admin rights so we can, say, install Docker or install Python or PowerShell tools and applications like that we're then going to use day to day. So Stuart, as a developer, we always seem to be coming to you with our problems and strange use cases. How much of a pain is that for you to deal with in the infrastructure team?
Well, developers, they're no worse than any other user. All users want their local admin rights. And developers, to be fair, have a good use case for a lot of the time for needing it. But having admin rights all the time isn't really fitting well with sort of least privilege principles. So, it's better off to work out what you need admin access to and then just give you specific access to that rather than admin access to lots of different things, which, in the case of a breach or someone landing on your laptop, enabling them to, spread out across the infrastructure, with restricted rights on the machine, they're going to be pinned in a lot more and hopefully trigger some intrusion detection alarms, and we can kind of deal with problems. And that's a lot less on your plate.
Yes, and I'd say for developers, the worry when we hear that we're going to have our machines locked down is that we're going to need to do something and then not be able to do it. And we're going to have to raise a ticket and sit waiting for it to be approved. But that hasn't really been my experience using PEM.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, we're with a size company where we can deal with things quite quickly anyway. But in a larger enterprise, it must be a nightmare if you have to pass everything through a small infrastructure team, that can take hours, maybe days to get back to you on something. And you're blocked from actually getting on with your work and earning money for the company.
Exactly.
So you're going to take me through how you would normally install some of the tools. Say maybe you need to put Docker.
Yes, so Docker is a great example because it's really integral to development and we use it extensively and it requires local admin rights. So here you see I've downloaded the Docker desktop installer, and if I go to run it, then we realise that it's going to need local admin rights, which I currently don't have, but that's fine. Because what I really like about how PEM is set up is the options you have for elevating, and presumably because you trust me, you've allowed me to just start a session with administrator rights for 30 minutes.
Okay, so you're using that method where you get a 30-minute window and you can use as many administrative rights in that period as you like.
Exactly.
But we'll still be auditing at the PEM server end, so we've got a log of everything that was elevated.
Right.
So your other method would have been to sort of right-click and ask, send a request out when I'll get a ping on my phone saying,
exactly,
Scott wants to install this, and I can log on to the PEM server and approve it.
Yeah,
and off you go.
This way is really you couldn't get any simpler. I just click start and it's granted. So now if I again go to install Docker, then I'll just be able to put in my credentials and it will install. And there we have it.
Excellent.
Now I just wait for the installer to complete.
No hassling me to come and install some software for you. We like that.
Yeah, I didn't have to ask you for anything. I don't have to wait. And it's logged, so you can check what I've been up to.
Excellent. Okay, we spend a lot of time in Linux land as a company, but there's plenty of opportunities where we do dabble in Windows services for map servers, etc. So when you're developing that sort of code, you need to be able to stop and start services. And again, that's another requirement for having admin rights. So this is probably another good opportunity for PEM.
Certainly, yeah. I mean, it's not the area I'm working on at the moment in the product, but I've worked on it before, and I'm sure I'll work on it again. Is our map server, and that's the nature of it as being a Windows sort of proxy. Is that we do need to run services with local admin rights. So when developing it, we also need to be able to test that all those services are running correctly and writing correctly. So yeah, something like PEM is really useful because we do need those local admin rights, and it makes it easy for us to get them.
Yeah, and again, obviously you mentioned the word proxy there. I mean, that's another thing you can't do without the admin rights is set up a system-wide proxy, from your command line there. So, PEM would.
There's lots of things in Windows, proxy or other network settings.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, changing your network settings, maybe a static IP, or changing DNS servers. So there you go. We've chatted with Scott, one of our tame developers. Developers being equally as bad as sysadmins when it comes to admin rights. So how did you get roped up into this?
Well, funnily enough, I only recently switched to working with Windows development rather than Linux and started using PEM. So I gave a shout out to the PEM team during our Endpoint meeting because it had all worked so smoothly for me, and obviously that got picked up on.
Excellent. Well, if you want to know more, get in touch. Speaking of PEM developers, how do PEM developers develop PEM? Some kind of mad PEM perception.